Kim Il-sung, go all out for victory in the war. Working people of the whole world unite. Kim Il-sung, go all out for victory in the war. Radio address to the entire Korean people, June 26, 1950. Dear fellow countrymen, dear brothers and sisters, officers, non-commissioned officers, and men of our People's Army, guerrillas operating in the southern half of Korea, and on behalf of the government of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, I make this appeal to you. On June 25th, the army of the puppet government of the traitor Sung Man-rhee launched an all-out offensive along the 30th parallel against the northern half of Korea. The valiant security forces of the Republic, fighting fierce battles to counter the enemy's invasion, have frustrated the advance of Sung Man-rhee's army. The government of the DPRK, having discussed the situation, ordered our People's Army to start decisive counter-offensive action and wipe out the enemy's armed forces. On the orders of the government of the Republic, the People's Army drove the enemy back from the areas north of the 30th parallel and advanced 10 to 15 kilometers to the south. It has liberated a number of towns including Ochin, Yonan, Saesong, and Pechkon, and many villages. The government of the DPRK, having discussed the situation, ordered our People's Army to start decisive counter-offensive action and wipe out the enemy's armed forces. On the orders of the government of the Republic, the People's Army drove the enemy back from the areas north of the 30th parallel and advanced 10 to 15 kilometers to the south. It has liberated a number of towns including Ochin, Yonan, Saesong, and Pechkon, and many villages. It is universal knowledge that the Sung Man-rhee clique is dead set against the country's peaceful reunification and has long since prepared for civil war. It has made a frenzied effort to expand armaments, madly prepared its rear by bleeding the people in South Korea white. Through unheard of terrorist suppression, it has outlawed all democratic parties and social organizations in South Korea, arrested, imprisoned, and killed patriotic, progressive personalities, and ruthlessly suppressed the slightest manifestation of discontent against its reactionary regime. The government of the DPRK, having discussed the situation, ordered our People's Army to start decisive counter-offensive action and wipe out the enemy's armed forces. On the orders of the government of the Republic, the People's Army drove the enemy back from the areas north of the 30th parallel and advanced 10 to 15 kilometers to the south. It has liberated a number of towns including Ochin, Yonan, Saesong, and Pechkon, and many villages. The government of the DPRK, having discussed the situation, ordered our People's Army to start decisive counter-offensive action and wipe out the enemy's armed forces. On the orders of the government of the Republic, the People's Army drove the enemy back from the areas north of the 30th parallel and advanced 10 to 15 kilometers to the south. It has liberated a number of towns including Ochin, Yonan, Saesong, and Pechkon, and many villages. The traitorous Sung Man-rhee clique has sold the southern half of our country to the US imperialists for a colony and strategic base and placed its economy under the control of US monopoly capitalists. It is universal knowledge that the Sung Man-rhee clique is dead set against the country's peaceful reunification and has long since prepared for civil war. It has made a frenzied effort to expand armaments, madly prepared its rear by bleeding the people in South Korea white. Through unheard of terrorist suppression, it has outlawed all democratic parties and social organizations in South Korea, arrested, imprisoned, and killed patriotic, progressive personalities, and ruthlessly suppressed. The US imperialists have seized the arteries of the economy in the southern half and have completely isolated the national economy. They are plundering rice, tungsten, graphite, and many other natural resources which our country vitally needs. Middle and small entrepreneurs and traders in South Korea, under pressure from US capital, find themselves doomed to bankruptcy. The majority of factories and mills have been closed down, the number of unemployed people has reached several million, peasants have not yet been given land, and agriculture is declining year by year. The people in South Korea are in a wretched state of plight and on the verge of starvation. The slightest manifestation of discontent against its reactionary regime. Dear fellow countrymen, the government of the DPRK, together with all patriotic, democratic, political parties and social organisations, and the entire people, has done all it could to avoid a fratricidal war and the horrors of bloodshed, and to reunify our country by peaceful means. As early as April 1948, the Joint Conference of Representatives of political parties and social organisations of North and South Korea made a first attempt to reunify our country by peaceful means. The traitorous Sung-man-Rhee clique, however, frustrated this attempt, and on instructions from the US imperialists and their tools of aggression, the so-called UN Temporary Commission on Korea staged separate elections in South Korea on May 10, 1948, and stepped up preparations for an armed attack on the northern half of our country. Marker. With a view for attaining the peaceful reunification and full independence of the country, in June last year, the 72 patriotic political parties and social organisations in North and South Korea affiliated to the Democratic Front for the Reunification of the Fatherland proposed reunifying our country peacefully by holding general elections. The entire Korean people enthusiastically supported this proposal, but the traitor Sung-man-Rhee clique rejected it too. The Democratic Front for the Reunification of the Fatherland reflected the will of the entire people when on June 7, 1950, it again made a proposal exhibit the peaceful reunification of the country, but the traitor Sung-man-Rhee gang also prevented this proposal from being carried out, threatening to label anyone favouring it as a traitor. On June 19, 1950, the Presidium of the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK expressed its unshakable will for the country reunification, independence and democratic advance in accordance with the wishes of all democratic political parties and social organisations, and advanced a proposal for the achieving peaceful reunification by uniting the Supreme People's Assembly of the DPRK and the South Korean National Assembly into a single all-Korean legislative body. What is this traitorous clique's objective in the civil war ignited? Though fratricidal war, the traitorous Sung-man-Rhee clique seeks to extend its anti-people reactionary system of rule to the northern half of Korea and rob our people of the achievements they have scored in the democratic reforms. The reactionary Sung-man-Rhee gang aims at taking the land away from the peasants in the northern half of Korea, who have become the masters of the land as a result of the agrarian reform carried out on the principle of confiscation without compensation and the free distribution and returning it to the landlords. It wants to deprive the people of the northern half of all democratic liberties and rights they have won. The traitorous Sung-man-Rhee clicks to turn our country into a colony of US imperialism and make the entire Korean people slaves of US imperialism. Brothers and sisters, our country and peoples are in great danger. In this war against Sung-man-Rhee gang, the Korean people must defend the DPRK and its constitution with their lives, whereby the traitorous puppet regime, and liberate the southern half of our country from the reactionary rule of the traitorous Sung-man-Rhee clique, restore the people's committees, organs of genuine people power in the southern half, and win the cause of the country's reunification under the banner of the DPRK. The war you are fighting against the fratricide provoked by the traitor Sung-man-Rhee clique is just a war for the country's reunification, independence, freedom, and democracy. If they do not want to become slaves of foreign imperialists again, the entire Korean peoples must rise as one in the national salvation struggle to overthrow and smash the traitor Sung-man-Rhee regime and its army. We must, at all costs, win ultimate victory. The Korean people must heighten their vigilance and keep sharp watch on every movement of the US imperialists who stand behind the traitor Sung-man-Rhee clique. Our people's army must prove itself brave and devoted in our just struggle and to defend the successful democratic reforms in the northern half of Korea, liberate our compatriots in the southern half from reactionary rule, and reunify the country under the banner of the People's Republic. The officers, non-commissioned officers, and men of our people's army have come from the people. The people's army, made of the best sons and daughters of our people, is the true armed forces of the Korean people. The people's army's men have been trained and educated in the love of the country and the people. They are equipped with highly efficient modern arms and weapons, with lofty patriotic spirit with which they will fight and sacrifice their very lives in the interests of the country and the people. All the People's Army's officers and men must fight to the last drop of their blood for the country and the people. The people in the northern half of Korea must reorganize all their work to put it on the war footing, and muster all their strength in a victory for the war and wipe out the enemy in a short space of time. They must organize all the people to support the People's Army, its replacements and reinforcements continually, quickly transport all necessities and munitions to the front, and care for the wounded with consideration and affection. In order to ensure victory at the front, the rear of the People's Army must be made an impregnable fortress. In the rear, An implacable struggle must be waged against the deserters and rumour-mongers, and work must be promptly organised to deflect and wipe out spies and subversive elements. The cunning and sinister enemy will make every effort to spread misleading rumours. The people must not be fooled by the enemy's vicious demagogy, and the organs of the state power of the Republic must mercilessly execute traitors who aid the enemy. Workers, technicians, office workers in the northern half of Korea must defend the factories, mills, transport, and communications from any encroachment, faithfully carry out all production plans and take all tasks assigned to them, and meet the needs of the front promptly. The peasants in the northern half must increase farm production, supply the people's army with enough food, give it every assistance to share victory. Men and women guerrillas in the southern half of the country must wage guerrilla warfare most fiercely, bravely, and must establish liberated areas and extend them by enlisting the broad masses of the people in the guerrilla detachments. They must attack and wipe out the enemies behind the lines, raid enemy headquarters, cut and destroy railways, roads, bridges, telegraph and telephone lines, etc. Cut off communications between the enemy's front and rear by every possible means, and finish off traitors, restore the people's communities, the organs of the people's power, and actively cooperate with the People's Army in its operations. Compatriots in the southern half of Korea should not obey the orders and instructions from the puppet Seongman-Rhee government, but sabotage them and disrupt the enemy's home front organizations. Workers in the southern half must organize strikes and raise riots everywhere. They must stop the fleeing enemy from destroying factories, mills, mines, railways, and other workplaces, and actively aid the People's Army to ensure victory. Peasants in the southern half of Korea must not get food. They should take good care of this year's crops, take an active part in the guerrilla movement, and spare nothing in cooperating with and assisting the People's Army in all ways. Middle and small entrepreneurs and traders in the southern half must cooperate in the struggle to extradite our country's national economy from the clutches of U.S. monopoly capital by opposing Seongman-Rhee's regime and assisting the People's Army. Cultural workers and intellectuals in the southern half must actively cooperate in the war against the traitor Seongman-Rhee to achieve reunification and freedom and to secure conditions for the development of national culture. They must thoroughly expose the crimes of the traitor Seongman-Rhee gang to the masses of the people and play to the full role of the agitators in organizing mass revolts. Officers and men of the National Defense Army of the puppet South Korean government. Your enemy is none other than the treacherous Seongman-Rhee clique. In the interest of the country and the people, you must lose no chance to turn your guns upon the gang of traitors. You should come over to the side of the People's Army and the guerrillas and join in the nationwide struggle for reunification and freedom of the country. You must take an honourable place in the ranks of the fighters for the country's freedom and independence by coming out against the enemies of our people. Dear compatriots and sisters and brothers, I call upon the entire Korean people to unite more closely around the government of the DPRK in order to quickly destroy the armed forces and the police system of the treacherous Seongman-Rhee clique. That a people that defies death and rises in struggle for the freedom and independence is always victorious. Ours is a just struggle. Victory for our people is certain. I am confident that our just struggle for the country and the people will triumph. The time has come to reunify our country. Let us march forward valiantly with firm confidence of victory. Go out all to assist our People's Army on the front. Go all out to defend and wipe out the enemy. Long live the Korean people who rise and have risen in a just all people's war. Long live the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Let us march forward until victory. This has been a reading of the Kim Il-sung radio broadcast to the entire Korean people dated June 26, 1950. And shown on the Stymie Korea's YouTube channel.